Roll Tide, taking their talents to Austin, Texas. Yes, #1 Alabama. Coming in after stopping Utah State 55-0, thanks to Bryce Young and his 6 total touchdowns. But on Saturday, Steve Sarkisian and Texas have a chance to jump back into that national spotlight. Despite the former working relationship there with his old boss, Nick Saban, both sides coming into this and thinking this is a new bowl game for both programs.
Coach, every preparation is different for each game, but an 11 o'clock kick against a coach that knows a defense like yours well, how do you adjust to that going into this week?
Well, we seem to play several teams now that kind of know us, but you act like we don't know them. So just because somebody knows you when they play you, it doesn't mean they're going to beat you. And just because you know them when you play them doesn't mean you're going to beat them either. It kind of comes down to how you execute. But, to think we're going to go change a lot of things that we do, that our players know how to do, that they do well, that they have confidence in, I don't think that's the answer when it comes to getting execution and having confidence in how you have to adjust and what you need to do.
I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is like, this is going to be the game that's going to define our program. It might not. I'm not that concerned about it. I'm more concerned about just the way we play the game. Said all along, my goal is to be in Dallas December 3rd, right? This game has no impact on that, right? It'd be great. It's an awesome opponent. I want to play really well. I want to make sure that our guys play our style of football, our brand of football, and do it the way that I know we're capable of doing it. I'm sure they're saying the same thing in their locker room, right? Because we don't impact them going to the SEC championship game either. But it's an awesome opportunity, 2 good teams, 2 good coaching staffs, and in an unbelievable environment. It'd be a great setting for college football.
Thoughts might be different in 2025 when they head to the SEC. By the way, of course, we know Sharp was the offensive coordinator in Young's initial season at Alabama back in 2020 when he backed up Mac Jones. Very few have won games against Nick Saban. You see there, especially when it comes to assistants. However, Kirby Smart, maybe the last laugh and the big one in that championship. Texas 7-1-1 all time when facing the Crimson Tide. That loss coming in the BCS championship game at the end of that season in 2009, 10 year. All right, senior college football writer Barrett Sallee sliding in on a Wednesday with me here. Plenty to unpack between these two. The first meeting since 2010. But if we're looking at this from Texas side here, come Saturday, what's the benefit of them playing in their own backyard in Austin?
Well, there's no doubt it's going to be a massive, massive advantage. I don't know if it's going to matter all that much, but going in, at least for the first quarter, you're going to see a very hyped up crowd in Austin. Look, I don't know how many people have been to that stadium, but I was there in 2019 when they played LSU at night, and it was wild. They were all crazy going in. Obviously, that game ended in a way that they didn't appreciate. But look, friendly confines, 11 a.m. local time. It's going to be hot. For those who have not been in Austin in week 2 of the college football season, it is not like a Tuscaloosa hot. It is a much different sort of animal. So, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a factor. So, they've been looking forward to this for a while. But Alabama's been in situations like this. They've been in games like this for essentially 15 years under Nick Saban. So I don't think they're going to be intimidated by it.
Of course, Q2Bs, they will be getting all the attention this weekend. You got 2 good ones here. Bryce Young, of course, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. Quinn Ewers coming over from Ohio State, trying to prove himself there with the Longhorns. What are you watching as these two battle it out on the weekend?
Well, I think for Quinn Ewers, it's what do you do when you get a face full of Will Anderson Jr. And not many people can prepare for that. Nobody can prepare for that. So, look, Quinn Ewers has all the talent in the world. There was a reason he was a 5-star. There was a reason he left Ohio State because he felt like he could start somewhere. Obviously, starting at Texas is a big deal, but Alabama's defensive front, so fast, so physical, so deep, and the way they mix in linebackers, the way they stunt, the way they get creative up front in that front 7, that's not something that Quinn Ewers is used to. And then, for Bryce Young and for Alabama, it's still about the offensive line. Look, I know Utah State was successful. I know that they enjoyed that victory lap against Utah State. I still have concerns about the offensive line. It's okay to be concerned about a team that just beat up on a cupcake because this is a different animal. Now, Texas's defense, not necessarily where it needs to be, but you still have a talented front seven. You still have a creative front seven, and you still have a coaching staff who understands, hey, look, this offensive line is susceptible, especially outside. So that's the biggest thing with Alabama. If Texas can get pressure on Bryce Young, look, it might not matter all that much, but it still should be something that's discussed despite what Alabama did to Utah State last week.
You mentioned pressure there. When you mention that name, it has to be Will Anderson, who led the nation with 17.5 sacks, of course, playing for Bama, making a case maybe for his Heisman campaign. Are we ready to dub him the best player? Do you need to see a little bit more? Because we saw something against Utah State that may say, you know what, maybe he needs to go to New York.
Look, he should go to New York. In my opinion, he's the best player in college football. Unfortunately, he's a defensive player. He's on a team with the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. A lot of voters will factor that in. They'll split votes with Bryce Young. People won't put 2 Alabama players on their ballot, which is only 3 deep. They won't put a defensive player because, quite honestly, they don't pay attention to college football all that much. Some voters don't even work in sports anymore. So it's going to be a very difficult task for Will Anderson to make it to New York. But in my opinion right now, I would vote him number 1 on top of my ballot because he deserves the recognition for being the best player in college football.
Does he need to show something that we saw not too long ago, a guy by Jadeveon Clowney, against Michigan, this brutal hit? Does he need to have an impact play like this to get the nod for you, Barrett? Would that solidify him as the number 1 for you?
It would certainly help. There's no doubt because stuff like that, look, that hit is timeless. And that was in a meaningless bowl game, right? But that hit is timeless. So something like that, a highlight reel play that will last for a decade, yes, that absolutely will help. Because like I said, those voters that don't necessarily pay attention game in and game out like we do will see that. They will recognize that play. So I think if he gets something like, especially in a big game, yes, then that definitely ups his chances.
By the way, our producer just loves to see that because he's an Ohio State guy and Michigan get it obliterated. We got to have it. Has nothing to do with Will Anderson, but it just makes sense. Why not? Of course, it's the AM show. Barry, before I let you go there, that line for Alabama, favored by 20 here, is that spread too high, too low, just right for you the closer we get to Saturday?
Oh, I'd absolutely throw money at Alabama because 3 touchdowns win you a bet. I'm 100% on board with that because what Alabama does, they absolutely demoralize you, and in the fourth quarter, they tend to run away. My default score for every Alabama game is 42-14 if it's going to be a blowout. Now, I do think this game will be a little bit closer going into the fourth quarter, but still, Alabama's got that depth. They've got that continuity. To me, that's going to lead to a runaway in the fourth quarter. Texas will not be able to hang with what the Crimson Tide will throw at them. So it will be close-ish going into the third quarter, midway to the third quarter, fourth quarter. Alabama runs away and wins by at least 3 touchdowns.
All right, Barry, before I let you go really now, you got a little time here. I think you want to chant a little something about the ATL. I know we talk college football a lot, but something about your Braves. You have the floor, my friend.
Look, Mets fans for the last 3 months, NL East is over. NL East is over. You got to watch your mouth. You got to be careful with your takes because the champ is coming through first place right now. It's not going to change. Atlanta's going to win the NL East. The Mets are still going to Met. We've already seen that for the last 2 weeks. It's going to continue. Never underestimate the Mets' ability to go full Met.
All right, the Braves looking pretty good. Look, the defending champs, it doesn't hurt, by the way, and it's always magical in that certain city. Just want to say that there. Barrett Sallee, have a good time. I appreciate having you on Cover 3 podcast there. The crew recaps, of course, the FSU's last-second win there. Also, the Upon Further Review with notes on Week 1 as we look closer to Week 2. Download, give them a follow the closer we get to Saturday.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.